Good afternoon. It is Barbara, the East Coast Dragon Lady, coming to you with probably a vulnerable post. I'm sorry about the fan. I've actually had my AC on, which it's noisy. I just got the fan on. So, as you can see, no makeup. I've actually been sitting outside for a couple of hours. I went for my walk this morning, and because it was actually tolerable, the heat, and I actually, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. Hang on. So I went out for my walk because it was cooler. It hasn't cooled down, but it was cooler. Oh, I've got used to the heat. And I clearly got the message when I was sort of saying, oh, I could do this when I get back, I could do that, oh, I need to. And they said, no, you need to do some of your inner child work. It's something that I've talked about before, that I've known that I have to do it. I know that I needed to do the work, and while doing the work and working with somebody to help me get there, I realized that abandonment was like a big issue, and that I needed to figure that out. The other thing I will say as well is that I decided, I think it feels like it was weeks ago, but what came to me was that I've been talking about the soul, I've been experiencing past life, I've actually been seeing myself in past lives, and then the light bulb went off that I need to do the quantum healing with the Dolores Cannon, which is QHHT. So I started that. It feels like weeks ago. I've learnt so much already, which is just blowing my mind. And I'm like, why not before now? But I think I needed these experiences. And one of them, and a lot of us have, our inner child needs to be addressed, and I had got really stuck a couple of weeks ago. I decided I would write letters to the people that I felt those abandonment issues with, and I got really stuck on my mom. I had all this stuff I wanted to say, but I couldn't really get it down. So I spoke to a person I'm working with, which is Casca Graham, and she said, have you heard of blending? And blending is when you bring in that, my mum's not here anymore, like you bring in that aspect or that soul, and you blend them with yours and let them write through you. So today was the day. I have to say, I literally shared it with my son about half an hour ago, and I couldn't get through a lot of it with tears. And it's tears of like release. So that's why I'm not even putting makeup on. When we decide we're going to share this stuff, it's raw. And I know so many people need to do it. And I've avoided for so many years. I've said, yes, I need to do that, but not now. Yes, I will do this, but I won't do that. And it really did, and I'm not going to share all of it with you, but the things that I needed to hear, I had aha moments where I never understood. My mum had always said, very vocal about not liking women, ever, and I was her firstborn. But she told me that, she was the first of three girls. Another was a twin that died. Her younger sister was a twin and died. She was around women. She was the eldest. A lot of it was to do with our family group karma. And she lived a very long life. She lived till 93. And she said that was punishment. And that, so there was so much in there that people had said to me, try and look at it from your mom's view. That didn't work. But by bringing her in and allowing her to write to me, my hand went numb a couple of times, which was interesting. But what was beautiful about this was there were dragons above me when I chose my spot, which I posted. I sat out on the lawn. I grounded myself, and I could feel my mum right behind me. And I can't say that I feel her around me, but as I was grounding, she was like ready to come in. She was like there saying, like, I'm ready. And she started to speak to me, and I'm like, no, let me ground myself. I wanted to be grounded. I wanted to have the dragons around me, above me, below me, and either side of me. I wanted all of that, so that when she came in, and what was beautiful about this, it was about 5 pages of writing, but at the very end, she said she was ready to leave, that she had completed her contract. What brought me to bawling was when she said she needed me to release her so that she could move on. And I don't think that I've thought about that what we hold on to is also those people that we're holding on to, that anger, that hurt, whatever it is, that they can't move on. And she said I was the last piece. She's also told me that that part, the scar, she says she scarred my heart, and that I need to also release my ex-husband. They were very similar. They were like 2 peas in a pod. I went from an abusive mother to an abusive husband, who's been my ex-husband for 25 years now. And I've been hanging on to that. I mean, that's how sad it is, right? I need to release it for myself, but I hadn't released her. And she says that she watches she said it's either like a film, she's British, right? So like a movie, or like watching TV. She says she sees me in my life. She's admitted that she was jealous of me, not when she would accuse me of things, it was really her, I guess, is the thing. So that was like what I needed. There are things that I'd never heard from her, so I really, really needed that. But then what really was beautiful was, and I'm almost in New Hampshire, so I'm sort of somewhat semi-rural, and I have hummingbirds and all sorts of things, and birds, and you've seen me post, I feed the birds, and there've been some beautiful birds recently. We've had the red-winged blackbird singing. This morning he was singing to me. I had my crow visits. But while I was sitting there writing this and she was closing, the hummingbird, so I've got some, I can't remember what they are, but I put some annuals in, perennials in a couple of years ago. They're like big red, and they've got these beautiful flowers on, and the hummingbird comes and feeds from them. So I've seen the hummingbird a couple of times, but while I was sitting there, the hummingbird sort of flew across me, and I knew that was a sign. And then out of nowhere came a monarch butterfly, which again fluttered by and rested and then fluttered by again. And then while I was sort of saying, oh, thank you, this is beautiful, the female cardinal came out, it was a bush, came out and landed on the ground and started calling to her mate. So I'm going to read you, of course I had to go into finding out what all this meant. The hummingbird says, if you're mourning, a hummingbird might be a sign that you're healing and your loved ones are at peace. Hummingbirds are often carriers, and their positive symbolic meanings such as joy, love, good luck, and the ability to overcome challenges. It can also represent a message from a loved one who has passed away, encouraging you to heal and live in the present. Furthermore, hummingbirds symbolize agility, reminding you to seize opportunity and not wait for the perfect conditions. So again, very positive. And then the monarch butterfly often carries symbolic meaning related to transformation, renewal, and hope. Some cultures view them as messengers from loved ones who have passed, or as a reminder of the beauty and grace of life's journey. Their long migration also connects them to themes of endurance, environmental awareness, and the interconnectedness of nature. It says also it can be seen as a sign as undergoing personal transformation, encouraging us to change and pursue our dreams. And then the female cardinal meaning is often associated with grace, warmth, and resilience. Their more subdued colour compared to the male cardinal is sometimes interpreted as representing inner strength and adaptability. The female cardinal is also seen as a messenger, possibly from loved ones who have passed away, bringing messages of comfort and love. They symbolize hope, joy, and the enduring nature of relationships. So I thought that that was worth sharing. I would love to share all of what I got, but I think it's very personal. If it's something, what I feel is that this is something that for a lot of us, when we say, oh, do inner child work, we're saying, like literally, well, what am I supposed to do? So when it was explained to me that, and I literally, while I was going through the process, I suddenly heard abandonment. And I'd called it everything else. Oh, forgiveness. Oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I'd never thought of I think I shared a few last year, that when I was working with my chakras and my chakra dragons, there was grief in every one of my chakras. So this sort of tells us that, and for me, I've held on to, I can honestly say, I am one of these people that has held on to this stuff for way too long. When my mum was talking, she talked about how our soul family had a lot of karmic debt to repay, and that there's been a lot of mental illness in my family, a lot of suicides on my mother's side of the family, and there's been a lot of that. She said that we're all moving through it, and that all of us, like my dad passed over when he was 60, and he was done at 60. I've been here, I've done it, I'm gone. And he's been very present in my life from the other side, but it doesn't ever feel the same when they're not here. And I actually was able to say that in a letter. So I've chosen for a lot of my inner child work to write letters to those people around abandonment. It's up to you how you do the work, but I do feel like this. And actually, when she said that she had left a scar on my heart, and as she was leaving, she said she was taking away the darkness. I actually felt it in my heart. I felt it in my chest as it left. So there's just a bit left that I have to give back to, that I have to remove from my ex-husband. So I just wanted to share that. As I said, it's a vulnerable post. I will be back probably tomorrow with, I did put some cards this morning. I will be back tomorrow with a message. And I'll talk more about my QHHT journey. I've really not, I have never read any of Dolores Cannon's books. So it wasn't like I was, a devotee of her. I don't even know what I thought about Dolores. I always thought she was somebody that just talked to the other side. I think that's what I thought, that, because I've seen a lot of her, I don't think I've even watched any of her videos, but it's like it's the actual course is 22.5 hours, which is about 4 months. And I think I'm about 35, maybe 40% through it. And it literally, she is teaching a class, and they videoed it. It was back in 2014. So it's a few years old, and I'm sure things have moved on since then. But I like the fact that it isn't, they've said this is her way of teaching. So it's not like a lot of PowerPoints and stuff. It's her teaching. There are notes. I think I'm getting to the bit where they eventually share the notes, but it's about us learning how to actually get people into hypnosis and allow them to then bring forward the past life. That can help with healing illnesses. Oftentimes, she says, a lot of people's lives are, there's not a lot, but there are sometimes big healings. And that's why I was like, why have I haven't even gone there with that. And only recently, this past year, like learned about the quantum field and started to embrace that. And that's where I suddenly realized that once you tap into the core of the earth, and I'm always talking about this, so if it's a repeat, it's because you need to hear it, about when we ground ourselves, we tap into the core. And then once your roots go in there, I call it lock and loaded. You go in and it clicks in, and then it's like everything lights up. It is like, it's literally like somebody just turns on a switch. So that's real. And like as you know, I've talked about the fairies. I mean, everything speaks to me now because I'm locked and loaded. So that's all I wanted to share today. And I wanted to do it while I was vulnerable, because tomorrow it just seemed like, but I got rid of that. I did get some sun. It's in the 80s today, I think. But it's been very hot and humid here. And we're in the middle where this is our 2 more weeks in July. So we're midway through July. We don't normally have it this hot and humid for so long. So if you're in the northeast or wherever, I know there's been some very interesting weather. I was just going to pull a couple of, I've got my Akashic record cards. I picked them up and I don't. So let me just say, acceptance. You may be disappointed with a recent outcome. Remember, if one door closes, you are being redirected to the one that will soon open to your true soul path. Interesting. Take the high road. You are at an impasse with a relationship or situation. It's now time to think bigger, release desired outcomes, and take the most positive course of action. Well, that speaks to me. And let's do one more. Stuck in fear. So what I've just been talking about, inner child, can actually keep us stuck in that fear. You are thinking of all the things that could go wrong. But what about all the things that could go right? Make a paradigm shift in your thinking and take inspired action anyway. So, stuck in fear, take the high road, and acceptance. So, have a good rest of Saturday, and I'll be back tomorrow.